Hello, I'm Sarah. Welcome to Relaxation and Meditation lesson number 10. So these sessions are suitable for students and anyone else who is interested in learning more about yoga, relaxation and meditation. So we're going to continue to develop the themes we've been working on over the past 9 sessions. If you haven't done those, it doesn't matter. I'm sure that you'll catch up very quickly. Reminding ourselves that the principles of meditation are that we try and maintain our focus on one thing, and that can be our breath or it can be a part of our body, and that's what we're going to be working with today. So we're going to be focusing in on the tip of our nose as we slowly breathe in and out through our nose. So it's perfectly usual for your focus to drift away from what I'm asking you to focus on. So it's perfectly usual for thoughts to drift into your head. And the important thing is that you don't get frustrated with yourself, because the more you practice these things, the more they will just become automatic. It can take some time, but these practices can really help us to learn how to deal with stress and anxiety and to reduce our stress and anxiety. And I think everybody has times when they can benefit from that. So if you'd like to take your comfortable seated position, remembering that we need to look for some comfort in our seated position. We need to find comfort, because if we don't find comfort, we won't be able to stay seated. And it's okay to move. Don't get frustrated with yourself if you need to move. In actual fact, movement is good. We are moving, functioning beings. We're not meant to sit still for very long periods of time. It's not good for our bodies. So if you need to move seated position, that's absolutely fine. Okay. So try and find a place where your hips are above your knees, just because then it's a little bit kinder to your lower back. You can find a more natural alignment through your back and in your spine. And I just always like to give my shoulders a little bit of a roll when I come to seated. We worked last session about trying to release tension from the shoulders, noticing when our shoulders are up here. Because if we're tensed and stressed, or we've been sitting at a computer for a long time, most of us will end up like this. And the shoulders can get really sore after long periods of time being locked up here. So even just noticing that, letting that go and giving them a little bit of a roll is going to do some good. If you need to sit on more cushions or a blanket just to lift your bottom further away from the floor, then that's absolutely fine. And it's worthwhile spending a few moments to try and find comfort in your seated posture. You'll find that perhaps the muscles in your back start to ache after a little while, so you can always just wriggle around on your sit bones from side to side, or maybe even put your hands down on the ground and just make a little bit of movement from side to side, whatever feels best for you, or down on the ground in front of you. So when you've had your little wriggle around, when you've made sure your clothing's nice and comfortable, you can start to focus on breathing in and out through your nose. And initially, to start with, that's all we're doing. Slow and steady breaths in and out through the nose. And maybe you've started to count your breath. But when we first come into our yoga practice, we're really, for these first few moments, just looking for a way for us to settle into our practice. Noticing the chit-chat in the head, the dialogue, the voice that can chat away to us. And whatever the chatter is about, the important thing is to notice. The chatter might be about something that's bothering you. It might be about what you're going to have for your dinner. But whatever that is, we just notice them as thoughts. And if there is something that's bothering you, this 15 minutes of practice can just help us to feel a little bit calmer, a little bit fresher. And then maybe we can go back to the thing that we need to do or sort out with fresh eyes. And even if you have to keep refocusing back to your breath and your count if you are counting, then that is fine. It's just fine. Just be calm, be steady, and just keep breathing. So now I'd like you to move your focus to the tip of your nose. And I'm just going to ask you to keep your slow, steady breaths going. As you maintain focus on the tip of your nose. And once again, we remind ourselves that it's completely normal for your focus to drift away from the tip of your nose. But noticing that that's what's happened is the important thing, that's the achievement. And then you refocus and move your attention back to the tip of your nose. And if your eyes aren't already closed, you might want to close them. It just helps to avoid distraction from the things around us, or even from watching me. You can just follow what I'm saying. And we just keep the breath steady. That breath with stirrer. And a breath with ease. Sukha, those two principles of yoga, sthira and sukha, steadiness and ease. So now I'd just like you to bring your attention to your shoulders and give them a little bit of a roll. And you could bring your chin down to your chest. Make sure you change direction with your shoulder rolls and keep them nice and slow. Really feel the movement of your arm around in the shoulder joint. And I'm going to ask you to come down and lie on your mat. So, once again, we look for that comfortable place. Feet and knees, that correct distance apart for you and your hips so that they're self-supporting. Feet too far apart and your knees will tend to swing in. Feet too close together and your knees will tend to swing out. So just take a moment just to find that place where your feet need to be. And your shoulders, make sure your shoulders are away from your ears, settling down into the mat. You might want to raise your arms towards the ceiling like we did in the last lesson and reach your hands away from you And then allow your shoulders to sink back towards the mat just a couple of times to really draw attention to them. And breathe out as you allow your shoulders to sink back down, and then return your arms back, either to resting on your belly or at the side of you. And try and keep that sensation of the release of tension from your shoulders. Maybe you need to just shuffle yourself a little bit more. But then once you've found your place of comfort, you take your focus back to the tip of your nose. And continue to slowly breathe in and out through your nose. Each time you become distracted, each time your attention moves away from the tip of your nose, just notice that's what's happened. No frustration, no judgment, no self-criticism, and just take your attention back to the tip of your nose. And then after your next out breath, you can allow your knees to just gently drift from left to right. Allow the soles of the feet just to lift up from the mat a little, just introducing a little bit of movement through the hips and the lower back. And then when your knees next drift to the left, you can roll over onto your left side. Or your right, if your right side suits you better. Doesn't really matter which side it is. You can use your hand underneath your head as a pillow. And take your focus back to the tip of your nose again. And then when you're ready, you can bring yourself back up to seated. And just have a little bit of a wriggle around from side to side. And coming forward slightly and back. And that brings today's practice to a close. Well done. I hope you enjoyed that. So, if you have any questions or observations, then please feel free to contact me. My contact details should be at the end of this video. Or if you're interested in any live, personal or bespoke yoga, then please do let us know. Okay, look forward to seeing you again soon.